the Premier League show on Back of the Net, your 15-minute rundown of the weekend's top flight action. My name's Sam Davis.
My name's Tom Jordan.
Of course, we're an AFC Bournemouth fan channel, so we're taking a view from the south. And Tom, it was a decent opening weekend in the Premier League, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Lots of exciting results, lots of decent talking points, and yeah, it's just great to have it back in it.
These are the results. It kicked off on Friday with Man City toppling Burnley. AFC Bournemouth, our beloved side, were in action over the weekend on Saturday. A couple of games on Sunday, and then who doesn't love Monday night football in their brand new studio as well? Plenty of goals. It really was an interesting weekend. But these are the 5 things that we learned from the weekend. And number 1 is Newcastle are a joke. Mate, they are a joke. Look, we know what Eddie Howe football's all about, and we saw that style that he did at Bournemouth for Newcastle, like they saw all last season in what was going to be quite a spicy opening game against Unai Emery's rejuvenated, revitalised Villa. They absolutely blew them away.
They did, mate, and as you said, we were prone to that all the time. We saw that sort of football, and Eddie's starting to get the kind of gravitas now because he's at a club that obviously, yes, they can spend a bit of money and they're looking to the Champions League, but that is how he plays. And yeah, I think Unai and Villa probably were a bit naive, actually. They're always going to be a team that want to play on the front foot, and they obviously felt they could get something out of the game. But against Newcastle and the way Eddie plays, you're going to get caught, and they just kept getting. I almost felt like when they got to 3-1, they should have just gone, we've lost the game. But they just kept going, which, you know, credit to them. Eddie would have probably done the same, actually. But yeah, so brilliant. And then off the bench, they're bringing on Callum Wilson and Harvey Barnes. They both score. He's got the depth as well. So yeah, that was really impressive. And Newcastle, yeah, great start for them because I think everyone thought that would be a really tight game.
Yeah, Isak looks incredible, and he's only going to get better. Tonali, the new signing, he was a monster, wasn't he?
Too gnarly. Too gnarly. Yeah, he was brilliant, and I don't think he's looked at as being someone that's going to pitch him the goals, but he had a chance and then scored as well. So he looks like, I mean, that's just so. How's he got him in and just ticking straight away? Never played in the league of the country before.
Brilliant. They were tearing them apart. I just love a couple of their attacks where there's 4 players just flowing at full pelt, right? And so as a Villa defender, you play in a very high line as well. You just don't know what to do. But Newcastle United, they have hit the ground running.
It was I want to just say that it was a horrible blow for Mingsley, though, wasn't it? I mean, that didn't help Villa. They obviously had to bring on a different defender and a new defender, but it looks like Mings' season's probably over, mate. And weird that it happened against Eddie, because Eddie knows that firsthand. It happened for Mings when he first come to Bournemouth, and hopefully, I mean, shown before Tyrone, Annie, that he got an awful ACL injury. He come back, got sold for 30 million quid and made the England caps. So he's done it before. He'll be back again.
How do you stop Man City? How do you? Look, Burnley tried their very best, and to be fair to them, their performance on Friday was actually not bad at all, but it's that clinicality that counts. Haaland scored twice in 5 touches or something. His first touch was a goal. He's another monster as well, and yeah, they absolutely looked impeccable.
How do you stop City? I almost want to say you don't. They just want the treble. But yeah, I feel for Burnley. I mean, Burnley were really, I think a lot of people thought, you know, it was really courageous and brave from them, and it was. It really was. Fair play to them. But you've seen now that even kind of playing well against them, creating stuff, I always felt that with a Burnley side playing City in the past, you'd think they could bully them.
And they probably got a better chance of securing a point with their Sean Dyche side, but fair play to Company, he went out.
He went for it, but also now, City shown they can score from set pieces. They're physically big. Like you can't bully City at all. And yeah, as you say, mate, that ruthlessness from City, from Haaland in particular. I mean, his record is a joke. He's a bit of a joke. How do you stop him? I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, they were brilliant. But nothing away from Burnley. I think if they play like that against the majority of teams, they should have enough. And yeah, they created more chances than I probably thought they would. But I didn't realise that in the Championship last season, even though they won the league quite comfortably, they conceded a lot from set pieces, and they're going to need to address that quite quickly. But yeah, they had quite a lot of new players as well, and Burnley will have to take a lot of positives out of that, because what can you do?
Liverpool and Chelsea, well, they need a defensive midfielder. They want one. They must get one. That game on Sunday, mate, madness, wasn't it?
It was a hell of a game for the neutral. Brilliant to watch. But if you want to know why they both want Caicedo, why they both want Lavia, you could see it out there on the pitch, because it was so end-to-end. It was brilliant to watch, as I say. but both teams were too easy to attack, too easy to play against. I thought Liverpool started brilliantly, but then it ended the game with Chelsea well on top. So yeah, you could see why both teams just want someone that can sit in there. I think Liverpool went with McAllister in there. I thought I played well, but he's obviously been used. You're going to want him a little bit higher up. And I think Chelsea actually almost played Conor Gallagher in there. Well, he's not a player that wants to play in there either. So you could perfectly see why both teams need a defensive midfield player and why they're happy to spend around £100 million on one. But it was a really exciting game. Two teams that really played on the front foot. I thought that the wing-backs of Chelsea and Chilwell and James were sensational. It's just going to be keeping them fit because, as we know as England fans, neither of them made the last tournament because of their injury problems. So Trent was good again getting forward. I thought that both teams looked a little bit vulnerable at times defensively, but they both looked quite exciting. Yeah. We know firsthand as Bournemouth fans that we nearly signed Jackson, and you could see why Chelsea ended up getting him. Yeah, he failed a medical for us in January, but he looks like a lively player, and a few young players in there for Chelsea that I think look good. So yeah, I think both teams are kind of in a new kind of project, if you like, and I think they're both going to be exciting, but at the moment they're both a little bit too vulnerable to the counter. It might cost them from being close enough to the title charge, but I think they'll both be in there going for that top four.
Life after Kane. Will Spurs fans buy into Ange Ball? Now, you're probably too old for this, but back in the 80s and 90s, there used to be a gold blend ad with a couple, and it was a kind of will they, won't they get together scenario. It was like Harry Kane and Bayern Munich. Will it happen? Will it not? He did put pen to paper. And what was quite interesting was when he did his video and he talked about, you know, it was great to share all our successes with you.
Be more specific, Harry.
Audi Cup. Oh man, I don't want to join in on the bandwagon like the Arsenal fans do by goading them about that and all of football. But he's gone to Bayern. Will Spurs fans buy into Ange Ball? That game against Brentford, again, was a really absorbing game. That first half especially was a great watch, wasn't it?
Great watch, and I'd just like to say we done a little predictions and I said 2-2 because I felt that's exactly how it would go. That Postecoglou, why did I try that? Just say Ange. Ange's football is very open, very expansive. You're going to get caught now and again, but they'll be exciting to watch. And in terms of will the Spurs fans buy into it, I think they absolutely will. I think when you've had to deal with, I don't want to be too dramatic, but when you've had Conte, didn't work, Mourinho and Nuno, you've had three managers that are dull to watch, but you accept it because you want to win stuff. They didn't win stuff, so then you don't accept the football. And we were in a weirdly similar position where we didn't like the football of O'Neill, but we stayed up, so it was all right. I think they'll buy into it because I think it'd be more enjoyable to watch. I think Romero's injury at the start of the game affected them defensively. They need another centre-half. I don't think they're good enough defensively. I'm not convinced on Richarlison through the middle. I almost feel like, could you play Son through the middle, maybe?
Yeah, I'd rather that.
They'll get a striker in. There's little murmurings about him going for Lukaku, which would be interesting. But yeah, I think Spurs fans will buy into it because they'll just love the fact that it's enjoyment to watch. It's more entertaining, and yeah, I think they'll enjoy that a little bit more. And also, weirdly, I think they'll be like, well, we can't rely on Kane anymore, so we're going to have a bit more of a style. And I think they will get into it. On to Brentford a little bit, by the way. I think that shows a club that, despite losing their best player, they've got a top. Another one I'm not a massive fan of because he can be a bit annoying on the sidelines. But what a coach! Yeah, what a coach! Yeah. Because he's similar to what we said about Brighton in the past. That even when they lose some key players, they bring in other players and they still seem really good. And yeah, fair play to Brentford. And again, I think they'll probably have enough.
Finally, football is back. So we were really happy, but the media had another weird weekend, didn't they? We're Bournemouth fans, right? We've seen Jefferson Lerma grace many a pitch. Did Match of the Day ever talk about him? No. First game for Palace, they are waxing lyrical about the guy with a special 3-minute montage about how he's strengthening their midfield. What's going on?
He was literally played like that every single week for us. But it was nice to see that because he deserves that. And a lot of Palace fans that done a few little bits for him because obviously they signed him and they wanted to know kind of the inside info about how he is as a player. And I come out of the Bournemouth game and I had messages just saying, you were right and wow, what a player. And yet we can see it now. Very reminiscent of when Ake went to City. Is suddenly they're all going, tell you what, this Nathan Ake's a player, isn't it? Yes, we told you. Oh, now they're going, that Eddie Howe's a good manager, isn't he? Yeah. We're used to this. But yeah, Lerma, yeah, pleased for him first and foremost because he's a top player and he was a really good servant for us, and yeah, he helped obviously Palace get the win. But yeah, I was having a little smirk of kind of, oh, they're doing a big montage on him now, are they? Never done that for us. That is what he's like. He's, you know, he'll run all day for you, he'll be tenacious. It looked like he was given a little bit more of a licence to get forward.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's probably, as Palace fans I'm sure will say, that because they got Decore in there who can sit, it means, whereas Lerma was always that most defensive for us. But yeah, it was funny, them all acting like he's this new player that no one's ever seen before.
Simon Thomas, he made his debut on Soccer Saturday and it was going oh so well until full time, where the caption on screen said Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. But he was going on about West Ham beating a Bournemouth, and I don't know what happened there.
No, and I don't want to put it all on him because I'm sure something's going on in his ear.
Yeah.
But yeah, it literally says 1-1, that was the result, by the way. I was kept looking at the league, so did we lose? But he just kept saying that match winner Jarrod Bowen there.
No one interrupted him.
I know, it was odd. It was odd. I think apart from that, obviously I was at the Bournemouth game, but it sounds like he'd done a decent job, and I think he's quite good at it. It's always going to be horrible to try and replace Jeff Stelling because what a ledge, but I think he did do alright, and I think he's quite likeable, but that was laughable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it felt like, from a Bournemouth perspective, that's typical. Out of all the results they get wrong is that Bournemouth must have lost, so we'll just say they did.
And I remember on the first last season, on the very first Monday Night Football,
yeah,
they showed all the scores from the weekend, but they just missed Bournemouth out. They just didn't show it.
And we won, didn't we?
Yeah, it's like we're not there.
Yeah,
finally, Richard Keys.
Oh
more banter from him. Would you smash it, Richard? Would you? Would you? Well, you didn't smash a tweet where you said you're delighted for Gary O'Neill. Yeah, we were too. Sacked by a small club with no tradition where he produced miracles. Employed by a giant. It's a well-deserved turnaround in fortunes. Right, look, firstly, we want to say this. What a performance from Gary O'Neill's Wolves last night against Manchester United. Honestly, they completely dominated them. The football was so good. But once again, it was an individual decision that turned the game. And that was Wolves not being given a penalty. How did they not be given one? Honestly, VAR is a joke. And it's a stat that is probably going to carry on with his tenure at Wolves. He never won one for Bournemouth. Maybe he won't for Wolves. Anyway, in terms of this point though, you've got to say, that tweet, a club with no tradition where he produced miracles. Should we just tell them why it wasn't miracles?
Yeah, and first and foremost, Rich Keys has kind of said instantly that he was outraged by the decision for us to sack him. So he's kind of like, what's the saying when you've kind of, that's your opinion now and he's not going to change it. So he's just behind Gary O'Neill now.
Just very stubborn.
Just that kind of, because he's made his opinion. But Gary O'Neill, the Bournemouth fans don't hate Gary O'Neill. I don't like this perception that we're all like, yeah, he's got... We're buzzing because we like the way the club's going, but we're all, thank you very much, because you did do the job. But what people, for some reason, I don't know if it's because we've got a tiny little stadium and we're little old Bournemouth, we spent nearly 100 million quid in 1 month. Before that month, by the way, Gary O'Neill got the permanent manager's job after the World Cup. So there's about a month, a little bit longer before the January window, right? In that period, we barely had a shot on target. We just lost every week. We were absolutely atrocious. Then we spent nearly 100 million quid. Yeah. We got some players through the door and, made some good decisions as well. Gary made some better decisions going forward. And then we stayed up and then we didn't win a game again. But I don't understand this miracle. It really, I cannot understand. I would love someone, because this isn't just Richard Keys, I'd love someone to explain to me what constitutes a miracle, because there's also this thing about he come in and picked us up when we were dead and buried. Yes, we lost 9-0, and I know that is kind of what is glossing over everything. Yeah. But when he come in, we weren't in the relegation zone. The only reason we ever went to 20th was because Gary O'Neill took us there. Yeah. And then we got out of it. Cheers, Gaz. It's got us out of it. I would like to say wish you all the best of Wolves. I kind of don't, because you're competing with us. Yeah. So I don't want them to do well. But I
don't think we should be the doom mongers though by telling Wolves fans how bad it's going to be. No. Ultimately, the proof will be in the pudding, of course, and we'll have to see how it pans out. We certainly wish him the best of luck. But this is where programmes like James Alcott's The Narrative is perfect, because the media think one thing, but fans are thinking completely something else.
Yeah, and just touch on that with the Wolves fans, because, like you say, we're saying about it was the money and O'Neill didn't do anything. What I will say, to his credit, is, a lot of people have spoke about, don't really know what a Gary O'Neill team looks like, hasn't really got a philosophy or a style. But if you're a manager bought in at that point and you're suddenly in a massive relegation scrap, you do whatever you can game to game to get the results and get the points on the board to keep you in the league. He did that. So I don't know if now he's got the start of the season at a new club, he might develop this style that we don't know he has. And I think there's a good coach in there. I do think there's a good coach in there. And yeah, we'll see what happens with Wolves. Do I think he could keep them up? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do I think they might not have enough under him? Probably. But it remains to be seen. But I wish him all the best, just not enough to do anything against us, obviously, and to affect us too much.
So those were the 5 things we learned. Newcastle are a joke. It could be impossible to stop City. Liverpool and Chelsea, work to do in the transfer market. Kane-less Spurs, they probably need to improve. And also the media is back with its weird takes on Premier League football. This has been the Premier League show. We're going to be delivering this to you every single week on a Tuesday with myself, Sam Davis.
And me, Tom Jordan.
There's a thumb thing, Tom. They need to press it, right?
It's a little thumb thing, click it. It's called a like button. I'm not 100% sure what it does, but it's good. So just click it, and then if you click the subscribe button, we all know that's good, so do that as well. And yeah, I think we should do this every week. Let us know in the comments who your best player, your standout player from the weekend was, from the game week, and who had the stinker, who had the stinker of the weekend. I think there's a few little shots. It's easy to go harder, but I want to know people's little kind of, maybe little outside of the box shouts. Who really let you down this weekend and who really surprised you positively? Let us know in the comments.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Up the cherries.
Up the chairs. Kia man.